guys. I'm
No
right
problem.
in Venice, and I've got tons of things scheduled. So sorry to kind of be jumping in like this. Um, and really great presentation from Matthias. Is very impressive to see this. So I'm going to start my presentation. And it's very different. It's the presentation that I sort of give to my students, and most of these things you'll know already, but hopefully it's going to give you a little trip down memory lane and put all of this in context. So it's really about real time and sort of a lot more about on the Unreal side of things, and yeah, exactly how real time is going to how gaming technology is effectively changing the world because in my world is the world of architecture, and I've been a qualified architect since 1996, an Unreal educator since 2016. As soon as the Unreal Engine became available to the wider public, I jumped on it because I was sick of waiting for renders, and I became an interactive real-time consultant at my last company I worked with, at Cityscape. And obviously, also before that, I've been a visualizer since 1996, 3S Max version 1, for those of you who use that software. So it takes us way back into last millennium. But I was very lucky to work with Epic Games during the when effectively Unreal moved from gaming only to being applied to many other verticals. So I worked for a long time with Heatherwick Studio, with Google as well, with Bentley Motors when we created a redesigned all their sales rooms actually, which was unfortunately before Epic came out, so Unreal came out, and before Arcware was on the scene. So, but I'm sure Bentley will be very interested to hear about all of this as well. So. Um, that's a little bit about me. I've got a YouTube channel where I started to post um, tutorials about Unreal Engine, just to kind of sharing as I was learning, and I think that's also how I became um, came to know Manus. I've got a website where I sell sort of courses, and again where I help people onboard the technology. Just a few visuals where really that's where it became um, for me. Well, obviously, I'll talk about this before a little bit after, but where the quality of the video game technology became enough so that we could compete in some way with the established um, visuals, which was usual CGI renders and so on. So, so really, what drove me to this technology is those two things, right? The real time and the interactive, which are both related. But what is real time? Real time is immediate feedback. It's in contrast with having to render to wait for many hours for a CGI, and also it's interactive, so it's based on the gaming technology. It's this feedback, and then being able to act on something which is going to react immediately. And what is that? The other benefits of using this technology today is that we can print huge images which are rendered at very high quality. It's obviously compatible because that's what Epic Games is dedicated to, being compatible with all the hardware and software. Well, mainly the hardware is actually, things like Nintendo Switch, PlayStations, but also those VR headsets and anything in the future. So this is something that Epic is dedicated to, and we don't have to, worry too much about this compatibility like we did so much in the past. It's based on collaboration, because it's based on creating video games with huge teams spread across the world. So it's collaboration is really at the core of the technology, and it's also future proof in the sense that Epic is putting huge amounts of their own money, because it's their software, into the technology. And then at the time it was free. That's changed a little bit. We can still download it and use it. So interactive real time. If my video plays, well, I'll tell the sound off actually. Um, interactive real time is the real world. So this is Nolan Foster, Britain's most famous architect, possibly, and he's drawing. He's drawing a line, and this is the most basic kind of piece of technology. But this is interactive real time. So what do? We're actually trying to go back to what we were originally, right? The real world. So, and this is what I, as an artist or an architect, was always striving to do, to go back to this idea of being able to use my body, use my hands, and exactly like here we've got Frank Gehry, possibly America's highest, most paid architect, one of probably most paid architects in the world, and they are still designing um, with cardboard. This is how they design and they collaborate. There's two guys, and here I love it how he doesn't like it. He throws it away, and they get really upset. So this is what we're trying to get back to. We're humans, and we're physical, and I think that's always what we're trying to do. So so this technology, real time, this is Unreal Engine, this is Unreal Tournament playing on a Windows 95 machine. So this is kind of taking me back to the early days. And this was always real time, but it wasn't looking so great, right? We had really basic textures. The characters looked pretty awful. The everything was extremely low poly. This actually looked really good at the time, but it's not something that we could use for a product presentation or marketing for real estate or anything like that. Especially compared to the quality of the CGIs. But it worked, and it enabled us to move forward to today, where effectively Fortnite at Epic Games. In fact, Fortnite came to existence while I was working for Epic Games. So when I started with Epic Games, we'd had no Fortnite, and I tell you, things were pretty tense because money was a problem, because it's really up and down in the game world. And then Fortnite came out, and it just completely changed everything. Not only the technology that we have, probably including some of the pixel streaming's capacity that Unreal proposes, but huge amounts of innovation, both in terms of under the hood, but also visual technique, like global illumination with Lumen, but also nanite. So we have billions of polygons and so on, and also the visual quality that you can see here. Um, and that brings us to kind of the idea of real-time photorealism, and that kind of brings the whole movie industry into this. And this is obviously Toy Story 1, the beginning of CG movies. I think possibly the first CG movie, and it's quite interesting to see that here they used toys to, as a subject of the movie, and because, well, that's what we could render pretty well, like plastic. Plastic looked really good, and you can see how here the toys look fairly realistic. If you look at the arm here of the robot, it's pretty realistic, but the wood at the back is awful, and the lamp looks terrible. So really, the CG, that was the beginning of CGI, and we kind of embarked on this new world of creating movies with 3D. Absolutely not real time in those days, but the quality kept improving, and now we've got obviously the Matrix, which for me was really the first time when I came out of the movie theater and I thought, okay, this was real. I got completely taken into, but the technology was being invented here, and we've got this green screen technology, and where there were this very famous bullet sequence, which in fact linked very closely Epic Games and the Matrix, because the guy who was in charge of all these visual effects for the Matrix is now the chief technology officer of Epic Games. So Epic, during my time at Epic, I'll play this little movie. I'll actually turn off the sound just to sort of save time. I'll speak over it. I'm sure most of you have seen this movie. I'll invite you to go and see it. It's called Rebirth. You can find it on YouTube. It was by Quixel, but this is the project that I commissioned while I was at Epic. this was an epic adventure, as you can imagine. But it was a movie which was supposed to um, be a trailer for a potential story, which we invented completely from scratch. But the brief was to create photorealistic content in Unreal Engine, and there were kind of no constraints other than using the assets that Quixel were scanning and creating this huge library with, and so we were able to, well, they were able, the team, the incredible team of artists, were able to create this fantastic movie, which I think still uh, is up there in the kind of the demos of Epic to date in terms of the intensity and but also the visual quality that they were able to achieve. And this is not even in ray tracing, by the way. This was Unreal Engine 4.26. So we didn't have nanite, we didn't have ray tracing, so it was still a very a great feat for the team to be able to do that. But for me, it really um, represents the turning point when we go from the gaming technology that looks like a game to literally competing with movies. So that's our little movie here by quick. So I'll move on to the next. So just kind of moving on in time here, we've got the following demo. The following year, Epic created this amazing, incredible demo of a city that looks like New York, endless. You can roam around everywhere, and again, photorealism is key. There's little pebbles on the floor. There's characters on the street. They're walking. That you can talk to them. All the traffic lights are working, the cars are stopping, and it's just incredible. When the cars stop, the pedestrians cross the road. So really, this kind of simulation, realism, and visual quality is really reached a point where now this is it. This technology is here and competing with movies, with CGIs, with everything else. So moving on even to the following year, this is the again using Quixel assets, using all the latest nanite technology and things like that. We're not only able to achieve the same photorealism, but now in nature. So it's just absolutely humongous amounts of geometry and data, which is just absolutely breathtaking. And still, to this day, I'm not sure. Any other kind of software today can pretend to be able to handle so much stuff and with so much ease and especially that visual quality, which is always what Unreal is known for. So moving on here now, this is not an Unreal generated piece of content. This is a CGI, but this is what my last company I was working with. We worked for real estate firms and for marketing. So we're typically creating interactive content here. So this is a very basic kind of fly through in a pretty grotty part of London and around London Bridge. And then we've got this kind of piece of real estate here. And was a very unglamorous, not for marketing. This was for a planning application, extremely high value in the client's eyes because it helps to get authorization for the building and to be able to place it in context. This particular example here, we needed to add 2 floors to the building to make it viable economically, and it worked. The building got planning, and the building is now being built on site after many years of delay because of some of these issues. Sorry, I didn't meant to go to take out my screen here, and then just finally here, I think it was one of the first possible um, um, demos that we used Arcware for. And this is again enormous sites with several buildings, and then you'll see that some of these buildings have fully furnished inside. So here we've got kind of a in-house built user interface that allows us to go through each floor. And as you can see, the buildings are populated. So an absolutely mind-boggling amounts of data is being put in here. And I've got to say, works seamlessly as we when we upload that onto the Arcware platform, because it's able to Arcware is able to run effectively the program exactly as we have it here. So whether it runs locally or on the web, it's going to be exactly the same. But this is a solution that would be otherwise very difficult to deliver to a client, because we'd have to literally deliver a PC to them in their marketing suite with the the whole kind of technical support that comes onto it. You can just hear from my voice how painful that sounds, because I've done it, and I literally had to deliver PCs to clients, which was not the kind of thing that I had in mind for my work. So yeah, this is it. This is my little presentation here. Sorry to kind of be jumping ahead, but I'm not in my usual desk, effectively, here in the middle of Venice, and that's why I'm a bit shiny, because it's absolutely boiling hot. And I was in this room with 20 students who are doing incredible work in Unreal, but that means we had 20 heaters full on at the same time as the heat coming from the city. I don't know if any of this came through.
Yeah.
Basically, Fabrice, I just want to say your mic was off the entire time.
No, joking.
No, of course, no, of course. I am teasing. But Fabrice, before you repeat it, I just want to say that you made Manolis's month, if not year. You brought him down memory lane, like all the moments where he fell in love with the Unreal Engine.
He knows.
So
I knew you would. Windows 95. I thought about you on that one.
that was definitely Manolis. I think you heard it through the mute button there. And then Matthias on my right, he was fanning out when you were showing this screen, which is also still Unreal Engine 4, if I'm correct. With which one was it?
It's just legendary content.
What was the name of the technology you mentioned? The one with the fantastic how the water reflects on the wall with the yellow light.
The caustics, yeah. The caustics in one of the project, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the Barcelona pavilion, kind of with the symmetry and the marble in the background. So I just mentioned briefly before to Manolis that it would be amazing to re-render this scene with real-time caustics. They look fantastic.
That means we need to go to the NVRTX branch, because the guys have real-time caustics already. I mean, there is the Unreal branch. If someone doesn't know, it's publicly from even 4.27 and now 5.4, I think.
So then, Fabrice, how much longer do you have? Because first of all, Matthias has so many questions. We could be here all night. But even if we render them down,
far away. If I go before 8:45, that would be perfect.
All right, good. So then, I also just want to remind everyone in the audience that we are opening up for questions now for Fabrice. So then, as Matthias is also, his background's also in architecture. I am just giving him the microphone again. So, please take it away.
Yeah. So I have two questions, which I'm just curious about your opinion on the topic while we're waiting for more questions to come in. So when distinguishing between using Unreal for visualizations or experiences, or making, let's say, architecture or creating an architectural experience, when using that versus comparing it to using Twinmotion, how do you distinguish between the two?
Okay, thank you. Sorry, guys, I have to go.
No problem.
So
No
let's
problem.
just answer this question and then I have to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
So first, finish the question.
That was basically
That
it.
was
So
the question.
kind of what?
Yeah,
what's-
sorry, I'm sorry. Somebody was telling me to go, so I didn't hear the
All
end
right,
of your
repeat
question.
the question.
All right, I'll just repeat it. No worries. So when for you that has been a professional in the field and knows the technology so well, how would you at the moment for your projects, or what would be your advice to choose for an architectural experience? Would you use rather Unreal Engine or Twinmotion, or how would you, let's say, decide between the different tools?
Yeah, it's a hard one for me because I would not use Twinmotion because I want to be perceived as a professional, and in that sense, I want to be able to expand infinitely the level of service that I could provide to my clients, and so that drives us directly to Unreal Engine. Twinmotion doesn't allow, for example, full customization, blueprints. Currently, it doesn't allow, for example, being able to use Perforce to collaborate as a large team. I've had big problems in the past inheriting Twinmotion projects to move them onto Unreal Engine. So for me personally, I would not go down the Twinmotion path because it is the same technology, right? Twinmotion is made by Unreal Engine, so it's a sub-product of Unreal Engine, and the value of Twinmotion is in the assets, really, because although there's many functionalities that are incredible in Twinmotion, but the assets are really being delivered with inside of Twinmotion and things like materials and so on. So because I've been using Unreal at the beginnings in 2016 when it sort of came out to the general public, which Twinmotion was sort of really behind Unreal in terms of innovation. So I'm not sure today they've completely redeveloped Twinmotion from the ground up. So that's not probably true today. The Twinmotion's maybe a little bit behind Unreal in terms of features, but now it has all the main features, especially things like Lumen and Nanite and the high-end materials and so on. So it is a really tough one because Twinmotion's been particularly crafted for the architecture industry, and there's a very specific link for Revit, for example. So there's a live link with Revit. So it is a really tough one. For me, like as I said, because I want to be perceived as a professional, I would go straight to Unreal Engine as a professional visualizer. Twinmotion is really aimed in terms of a market segment as architects who want to produce visuals, not as visualizers who want to produce professional visualization, if you know what I mean. Does that make some sense?
You're going more in the direction of you want to not be, let's say, constrained just to visualization, but you are more enjoying the openness of Unreal as a framework to add in more types of content, more types of storytelling and so on. So it's more, Twinmotion is probably more, let's say, domain specific in the sense built for a specific purpose, while you personally would use it more as a general purpose, let's say, platform, quote unquote, for all types of storytelling and architectural creating experiences. All right. But
exactly.
If we still have the time, I would go into my second question, just very briefly, because
as long as they don't throw me out.
It's an important question. They cannot kick you out.
Yeah.
So you showed the video snippets before. I believe they were with Frank Gehry, right? So the physical. You mentioned in your presentation that you would love to go back to basically the experience of the physical, handcrafted modeling, kind of almost in a digital clay sense, and then like adding or gluing on pieces, throwing some pieces away, like we've seen in the video. So how do you see personally the a regenesis of this process, but in a digital realm? So if you look at the latest, let's say, NVIDIA Cosmos developments, for example, where they are starting to add in physical, quote unquote, or AI, like let's say this platform for AI generated content plus, but also a physical simulation for robotics and moving parts and simulating pieces or mechanical things and cloth simulation and all of those aspects. Which of those aspects would you like to see being added in the architectural, not the experience of the visualization, but of the crafting of the
Design.
process of the design, which then later on you can visualize? Which of those, let's say, aspects would you like to see being kind of quote unquote reinvented?
So I've thought long and hard about this. The answer is very simple. Look at the game industry. The architecture is an experiential thing. You know, it's like a sculpture inside out. So when you describe modeling with clay, you're outside looking at the object. In architecture, we're inside the space and we experience it's in motion, right? It's not just a static visual from one point taken at one time of the day, the year, you know, with one particular angle of the sun. It's obviously, as we know, because we're humans, is something we get up in the morning, you go out, you open the door, you go downstairs, you come out on the street, you go up and inside a building, and then it's night and everything's changing all the time. And as we're moving through, so the experience of going through is something that gamers do all the time. And so when we create a video game, it's um, it's all inside of the Unreal platform. You can create blocks, and you know you've got stairs, and you're moving through, and the experience is always eye level, unless it's a top down, in which it's top down. But if it's a first person shooter, everything is always created at eye level, and to me, that's the inspiration. And that's why it's very, very interesting how the virtual world, because when we talk about virtual reality, we imagine sort of, you know, virtual showrooms, virtual chat rooms, whatever virtual, you know, like Meta tried to do, this kind of awful, you know, thing where nobody was and nobody used. But video games are there. People are using video games, and this design process is already existing while we create video games. So what I'm really interested is to using the technology, the techniques, and the workflows that are currently done to create these amazing virtual worlds, which are video games with millions of users every day, and using some of that, some of these workflows to create architecture, to simulate the real world, and to think of new urban solutions to, I don't know, new urban centers, new building types, new ways of using, because we can simulate them, we can try them out. And then just to finish on that point, one of the things that is absolutely essential to the video game world is reusing assets. You know, it's instancing in the kind of 3D jargon, but in the real world, that means manufacturing modular elements into the factory, and then or manufacturing on site, and then assembling buildings made out of pre-made components. The smallest one being a brick or a block of concrete, but then you can have panel facades and things like that. So I think we're really going to maybe benefit from seeing how the video game world uses this technology.
Right, guys.